I'm going to give you a plan for the next few years. But before I do that, I think it's important I explain to you the exact situation you're in, as most of you seem to be unaware to the fact that you are actually a slave. You're a slave inside of a system by which fiat currency controls all of the banking, controls what you do with your life, controls the democracy that you enjoy. Of course, the banks ensure that the people who are voted into power give the banks unlimited power, and it's a cycle into infinity where you end up screwed at the bottom. The fiat currency, which you're so desperate to earn, is simply a form of slavery. In days of old, traditional slavery as you know it, they would take somebody, force them to do a job they don't want to do, give them a house because they needed somewhere to sleep, give them some food because they needed food to eat, and then prevent them from escaping and force them to work. This is actually extremely inefficient. It's hard to stop them escaping, and it's hard to make them do a good job. It's far more efficient to get somebody, force them to do a job they don't want to do in exchange for currency, and that currency is barely enough for them to afford a place to sleep and afford food to eat. Now you've given them the same things you gave them before, but they're psyoped into believing somehow they're not a slave and they're working for their freedom. The greatest thing about all of this is if the thing they're working for can be printed from thin air, then you can get unlimited people to do unlimited work for free because it's all made up. It's a slave. And then you can print more of this stuff from thin air and you can use it to ensure that the politicians who will allow you to continue to print it with impunity get into power. And you end up with a position where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer because the currency inflates. All the people who own the assets continue to get filthy rich. The people who do not own the assets will never be able to afford the assets because they get more expensive every single day and your wages do not go up every single day. That's the basic reality of the life most of you at home are living. You're so depressed and miserable that you gamble effectively. You understand your only way out of this garbage is just to buy crypto, buy meme coins, become a trader, become a gambler. Dump on all the other people around me. Use them as exit liquidity. I need to find a way to get rich at other people's expense because if I try hard to open a business, I'm going to fail because all of the companies are owned by international conglomerates who will outcompete me. If I work my ass off in a degree in a university, I'll probably end up in a riot or a fight. Even if I manage to avoid that, I get in huge amounts of students' debt to become an engineer, and the engineer wage has gone up 10% in the last 15 years, whereas my food prices have doubled in 2 years. So there's no point in working hard in school anymore. Your only chance is to gamble. That's what you believe. And this system is propagated and based on one massive web of endless deception. They have to divide us all, of course, so we don't unite. But more importantly, they have to lie to us about basically everything all of the time. You believe when you borrow money from a bank, you're borrowing someone else's money. You don't even understand the fractional reserve banking system. You don't understand where all of this currency comes from. You don't really understand truly how imaginary it is. You believe the things they tell you on the news. You believe we have to go bomb innocent farmers who have earned $3 a year for most of their life in some far-flung country that you couldn't point to on a map for your freedom. You believe that. And you believe the Congress needs to pass trillions of dollars to get it done. What's really funny is you believe these politicians work for you. You believe they represent you. You believe when they get into power, they give a shit about the people who put them into power. And that's the only thing that you believe which is correct, because they do give a shit about the people who put them into power. But you didn't put them into power. The people with the fiat currency put them into power. And they work for the people who own them. They work for the people they truly represent. And it's never you. Don't you sit and wonder, why do all these politicians, as soon as they get into power, just start voting for things none of their people want? Surely that's fraud. I mean, they're a representative of the people. Well, no, they're not a representative of the people. They're representative of the cartels which own this fiat currency. And they're voting in their interest, not your interest. Which is why no politician ever does any of the things their people seems to want. And if you find one who does, he soon ends up in jail. Funny that. People are losing faith in absolutely everything in real time. You're starting to learn that the justice system is just a weapon for the Matrix, where they're going to take subjective laws, which can be used against anybody at any time, let the people they like off the hook, take the people they don't like and put them in jail. The police are going to two-tier police the society. Sometimes they're going to crack skulls. Sometimes they're going to kneel and support, depending which protest is part of the Matrix's agenda. You're starting to understand the medical system, which should be such a pure institution. Doctors who just want to make people better is also corrupted. The World Health Organization. The World Health Organization, yeah. World Health. Funded by pharmaceutical companies, which force vaccines in your arm and pills down your neck. Everything is corrupt. Everything is fake. And everything is gay. Everything. The education system is spending more time trying to turn your kids gay then teach them the truth about any of these things I'm talking about. Every single thing you see on the news ever is a lie. And if they're lying to you now, they're lying to you about history too. Basically, everything you know about what's happened before you is also a lie. And the big deception, the goal of it all, is to distract you long enough that by the time you work it out, you're too old, you've lost your energy and your spark, you've paid most of your taxes, you've given up most of your life force for this fiat currency, you've been a good slave, then you can die peacefully. As the new generation comes along, perhaps they need new lies, stronger lies, any lie it takes to keep people working. And once you understand all of these things, the only hope at the end of the tunnel is a mass awakening. And here's where I started my video saying I'm going to give you a plan for the next 3 years. It's actually a lifestyle you could adopt forever, but 3 years alone could fix everything. I don't talk to people who don't talk about this. This is all I want to talk about because this is all that matters. If you're talking to people who care about sports teams, who are interested in rap beefs, who are sitting there talking about YouTubers and other bullshit, if you're sitting talking to people who are interested in Netflix shows, if you're dating one of those girls who just wants to have fun and isn't interested in how bad the world is, no, I just want to have fun. I just want to travel. All of these asinine bullshit worldviews collapse as soon as the bad times come. And then they rely on the people who understand how the world really works to fix it for them. I'm not these people's parents. I don't have to fix it for them. If they're uninterested in fixing it for themselves, then they can deal with the oncoming tsunami of consequences and it will land on their head. But anybody who does understand how the world works or has an interest in finding out, I would like you to unite with the other people who do the same thing. And only speak about this in your leisure for 3 years. That's all you should be talking about. You should be talking about the news that day and how they lied that day, how it's tied to their lies of the past, how the world could be a better place if we operated within God's light, which is truth. And if you removed all of the distractions and bullshit, and when you meet somebody who says, yeah, I go to Coachella, you need to look at them for what they are, which is scum. You're a scumbag. You have no interest in trying to fend off the slavery which is going to be bestowed upon you and your bloodline. You want to jump up and down and do drugs because you're a dumbass. And the reason it's actually kind of frustrating to tell the truth in the world is that you understand why the elites think most people deserve to be slaves. When you try to free people's minds, you understand perfectly why the elites believe that most people deserve to be slaves. Because a large percentage of people do. They do deserve it. Because they are idiots. And they are so easy to distract. And they are cowards. And they are afraid. But this is a hopeful message. I want you to have hope. I want you to understand that right now you're operating at a fraction of your power. You do not say most of the things you think because you're afraid of repercussion. If you say them hidden behind a cartoon account, like a little pussy. You're going through life having ingenuine interactions with people, pretending to listen to their opinions, talking to people who have no interest in trying to resist the oncoming slavery, and your soul is bombarded and under attack. I am encouraging you to be honest. That's all I want you to do for the next 3 years. To talk about the important subjects, to educate yourself, to only talk to people who give a shit, to anybody prepared to learn, educate them so they can realize just how big this scam is. When somebody tries to tell you they went to Coachella, tell them they're a drug-taking scumbag. Look her right in her eyes, that 7, who thinks she's cool, and say, you're a fucking nobody. Nobody gives a shit that you went to Coachella. You're an idiot, and you're the kind of person which makes it easy for the elites to enslave us all. You're a dumbass. You're not spiritual. You're not free. You're not cool. You're a dumbass. Explain to me how money works. I just get it off men. Yeah, OnlyFans. You're a loser. Make it clear. You can be the bad guy. Says in Batman. He's not the person everybody wanted, but he's the person everybody needs. Be the bad guy. Let everyone think you're crazy. It's fine. In the end, you're right. Be a man on it. Stand on it. Yeah, I'm crazy. We'll talk in 5 years. I was crazy during COVID saying the vaccine's going to kill us all. There's articles of me being crazy. Your friends Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro were getting the injection. I was the crazy one. Here we are. Time proves you right in the end. Just relax and tell the truth. I'm encouraging everybody to only talk about things that actually matter, to not allow themselves to be distracted, and to wake up as many minds as possible because, and here's the hopeful part of the message, we still have the power. The elites lie to us, but there is more of us than them. And they can only get away with what we accept. They only get away with things because we allow them to get away with them. The day they tell a huge lie and the majority of people say, "You're lying," no, the power returns to our hands. They cannot make us do anything unless the majority of people do it without questioning it. So it's extremely important now, in this pivotal period in human history, before artificial intelligence comes along, rewrites every book from the past, rewrites the present, and plans out the future. Before artificial intelligence has you believing, if you take that dildo out your butt, you're going to die. Because that's what's coming. As this empire falls, a tech empire will be born. And that's scary. As before, as empires fell, a new empire of man came to replace it. The new empire that's coming perhaps will be more heinous, more controlling, and more powerful than ever before. These will be seen as a few short years in human history where you had a chance to instill the awakening in the human mind which was required to preserve the human spirit. Because I promise you, there's a time in the future where there's no human spirit left. Just people sitting there with their Apple Vision Pros, jerking off by themselves. That's perhaps coming. But we, as creatures true to God, should do our very best to delay that for as long as possible. So, tell the truth all the time. Remind idiots they're idiots. Only speak about the issues that matter. Speak to other people who speak about those issues. And speak to people who are prepared to learn. Because a global awakening of consciousness, all we need is the world to give a shit and pay attention for a few short years to learn truthfully how badly they've been scammed, to work out why they can't afford groceries, to understand why they can't pay the rent, to understand why the politicians don't ever do any of the things they're supposed to do, to understand why everything on the news is a lie, to understand who they can actually trust, to understand you can love your neighbor, irregardless of his color or his political affiliation. You have more in common with your neighbor than the elites who are trying to separate you. All it takes is an open conversation. Anybody who's prepared to speak, no matter what color or creed, is on your team. And through this mass awakening, they will have to stop lying. They will have to start telling the truth. And I promise you, the day that happens, the world will become a better place.